Post-traumatic slave syndrome and jobs. If you've never heard of post-traumatic slave syndrome, you need to watch this video because we're going to talk about what post-traumatic slave syndrome is, and we're going to relate it to the experiences of Black women in jobs. So again, if you're not familiar with post-traumatic slave syndrome, you need to watch this video because we're going to talk about what it is, and we're going to relate it to the experiences of Black women in the workplace. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for about 20 years now. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. And today I have two special guests with us today. So I'll have them introduce themselves. So Dr. Arletta, if you can introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Coach Tish.
Okay, hi, I'm Dr. Arletta Caldwell. I'm the founder of Beyond Existing Enterprises. I work with small grassroots and primarily African American nonprofits. And I also founded the Urban Nonprofit. It's an organization in the community for African American led nonprofits.
Thank you, Dr.
Mhm.
Arletta. Coach Tish.
Hey y'all. So yeah, I'm Coach Tish. I'm a certified executive coach, specializing in building capacity for Black women. I too have survived toxic work
Mhm.
environments, and have used a variety of holistic approaches to really begin healing from those experiences. Um, and really heal from the burnout that occurs as a result of being in those experiences for far too long. So,
Yes,
yeah.
agreed. Yes, yes, yes. Well,
Mhm.
thank you and welcome, both of you. So I want to just tell a little backstory about how this conversation even came to be. Okay. So from the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, we have a WhatsApp group. So in the WhatsApp group, it's very active. And so there were some conversations going on, and there was a mention about post traumatic slave syndrome. And I was like, whoa, okay. We
Mhm.
talking about this here? And so it was like a back and forth, back and forth. And I said, you know what? Let's have a conversation about it on my YouTube channel. So that's how it came to be. So if you're not familiar with post traumatic slave syndrome, everyone, please get this book, okay? Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy. This is what we're going to be talking about, okay? So this conversation is going to be a little different where it's more scholarly. We're going to be referencing her book a lot, and I'm going to be referencing my notes a lot, okay? So it's going to be a little different from how we normally have a conversation. So I want to really talk about what post-traumatic slave syndrome is in relation to what Dr. Joy DeGruy talked about. And then we're going to try to talk about it in relation to Black women in the workplace, okay? So post-traumatic slave syndrome really looks at the role that our history as Black people has on producing these negative perceptions, images, and behaviors about Black people. So it looks at the role that history helps us understand how we adapted our behavior to survive
Mhm.
slavery onward. Okay. Now, I have on one of my favorite t shirts today. It says, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. And I want us to remember as we're having this conversation that yes, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Okay. So
Yes.
our ancestors went through so much for us to be here today. The fact that I'm on here on YouTube with these two brilliant, beautiful Black women, this is our ancestors' wildest dreams. So I want us to keep in mind that we are talking about trauma right now, but I also want us to remember that we also are talking about healing too. Okay.
Mhm.
But we have to talk about the trauma so we can talk about the healing too. Okay. So post traumatic slave syndrome really talks about the multi generational trauma resulting from centuries of slavery and continues to experience oppression and institutionalized racism today. Added to this condition is a belief, real or imagined, that the benefits of the society in which they live are not accessible to them. Okay. So Dr. Joy DeGruy
Mhm.
also talks about that there's three categories of behavior in relation to post-traumatic slave syndrome. One of the things she talks about is vacant self-esteem. Okay. Now she also talks about ways that post traumatic slave syndrome has significant impacts on us biologically. Okay, so in terms of epigenetics, epigenetics talks about within our bodies that there can be this generational transmission of trauma. Okay, so epigenetics is when we've gone through some type of trauma or stress. that it can cause a change in terms of how our DNA is read and transcribed. So if you think about slavery, that was significant trauma. So the trauma that our ancestors went through, it changed how their DNA was read and transcribed. So we
Mm,
are carrying that, okay? So
yeah.
the biological
Mhm.
component, then we have the sociological, the historical component that we're still dealing with, and we have the psychological component. So what we're looking at is that slavery has had a significant impact on us as Black people that we have never healed from. We have never had the opportunity to really heal from slavery, okay? So what we're talking about today is ways that the impact of slavery can show up in the workplace, okay? So just bear with us as we go through this conversation, okay? So ladies, as we get into this
Mhm.
conversation, this heavy, heavy conversation. And I also want to say that because we're talking about such a heavy topic, that I really want for all of us, and as I do a lot of trauma trainings, I always talk about this, because we're talking about issues of slavery, that I really want us as a people to be mindful of ourselves as we're talking, as we're listening, as we're reflecting, to pay attention to our bodies as we're having these conversations. If there's anything that's difficult for us to hear, that we're really breathing, we're really paying attention to our bodies, okay? So, ladies, when we think about our history within the United States, right? So, we were brought to this country to, for exploitation of our labor.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's how we were brought to this country, and that's how we are continuing to be seen in terms of people exploiting our labor and our worth being viewed only in terms of our labor. So, what have you seen and or experienced in relation to Black women? How we're viewed as in terms of our labor, and what ways do you feel like that's impacted us in the workplace?
Oh gosh. So much. You want to go ahead?
Okay, so my focus is really on healing after burnout, right? So what does that recovery process looks like? I love that Dr. Joy talked about, right? Like she mentioned the psychological aspect, the genetic aspect. Um, the person that I love that I'm really loving today is Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, and she talks about the 7 types of rest, right? And so when you think about this idea of rest, she talks the physical level, emotional, mental, social, sensory level, um, creative level, right? You can't think about resting unless you think about the flip side, which is the harm that has been done,
Right.
right? So we think about like these literal levels of harm that has been done. Most, America's a business. That's not a
Mhm.
secret.
Hmm.
And so by proxy, every organization that is in America, for the most part, is built in the way that businesses are built. Well, businesses were built on the backs of slave labor, right? And so, in all of these organizations in America in particular, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, a master's degree in nonprofit. I spent 8 years working in higher education. I now work in mental health. It literally does not matter. All of them reward hard work. All of them reward abandoning yourself.
Mhm.
All of them reward, and I mean, call out the people, you get acknowledgement, you get recognized, you get your name called out in the meetings. You may get, if you work in sales, you might get a monetary bonus, right? Like there's this culture of go harder, go faster, do more with less, don't stop, right? Continue to trade in all of your whatever would remind you that you're human, trade that in, right? So disconnect from your emotions, disconnect from your feelings of being tired, disconnect from your feelings of anxiety. That's the culture in every organization. And so as a result, when we survive, because that's literally all we're doing, we survive these environments by excelling in these environments. We're still surviving them though, right? That's how we survive, is by excelling. So we try to get to the top, so maybe you won't bother me as much, right? But in the process of excelling in these environments, we lose a connection to who we are. We lose a connection to what's really important. I like this idea of vacant self esteem. I would even like to call it almost invisible self esteem, right? Because we acquire all of these titles and accoutrement, all of these things that give us clout in these spaces, but then we still feel empty on the outside,
Right.
even with the clout and the titles and all of the stuff, we're still
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not fulfilled though. There's this disconnect. So that's what I see. And because we have excelled in these environments, there's a confusion. Um, because it's like I've achieved all these things,
Mm-hmm.
but I still feel like something's missing.
Right.
How is that possible that I've done all the things that my parents and my grandparents told me to do? I did all the things, I've acquired the titles, I've been in these spaces that none of my family has ever been in, right? And I still feel empty, or I
Right.
still feel anxious, or I still feel, it's like, how is that possible? And it's because, right, this environment, these environments, it's not real.
Right.
It's an
Right.
illusion. We've excelled at the illusion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's not even, I don't even want to call it self-esteem, because to have self-esteem, you have to know who you are.
Woo.
Mm-hmm.
We're not raised to know who we are. We're raised on what we do. And I'm saying that tonight's going to be me just being transparent.
Woo.
I have spit, if you ask me what I do, I can give you a bio.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I have been wrestling for the last 5 years. Who am I? Because, in the United States, the
Yeah.
first thing out of our mouths is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm really grappling with, who am I? What am
Yeah.
I about? And what am I about more than what I've done?
Yeah.
Because and that's why we're having such a hard time with all the layoffs and stuff, because
Yes.
Ooh.
we don't know who we are beyond our jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
The title.
Right. Right.
So that's that vacant self-esteem. I don't think it's self-esteem. We got to figure out who we are and our identities.
And
And
Yeah.
it's such a
it's so hard. Yeah, it's almost heart-wrenching when you think about it.
It
That
yeah.
is.
59 years old and you can't say, this is who I am.
Well, we haven't had time to develop that,
No.
right? That's not what's valued in Western society, is to develop hobbies and interests and um, play instruments and explore languages. At least not for people who look like
Oh God, not for
Absolutely not.
no.
Absolutely
like
not.
I think about that, it was when I moved to Mexico 7 years ago that I started to explore what else is there besides, because I was unemployed. I had gotten laid off and I moved to Mexico. And so I had time to explore. Now let me be clear. I started with, well, let me find a new identity, right? Let me take on this coach, let me build this coach business. And then I realized, girl, it's too damn hot for that. We're gonna have to do something else, right? Like I was in the Caribbean part of Mexico, so it's hot in the summertime. I'm like, girl, we need to find something else. We need to find some new interests. We need to, right? Like, what else can I explore and try on and experiment with? Like, how else can I grow? Last night I was in a play, and it was the first time I have been on stage in damn near 20 years.
Mm.
And it was such an electrifying experience. And I'm just like, oh, I got to do this again. So I immediately reached out to one of the singers who was in the play. I need voice lessons. She's like, girl, what? I'm like, I need to, I've been wanting to sing jazz, right?
Yeah.
But I'm in a space now where I have space. But let me be clear, I'm also now in a, like I'm not exempt. I think about that, right? Like I'm in the process of taking medical leave from work, from my day job. And it
Mhm.
was this going back and forth. Girl, you don't need medical leave. Yes, you do.
Mhm.
Oh, you don't really. Yes, you do. Right.
Mhm.
And it was in the process because my identity, I'm a coach, right?
Mhm.
I'm Coach Tish. And I'm coaching on burnout. And these are the phases of burnout. And do you want to wait until you get burned out to try to?
Isn't that interesting? You coach on being burned out, right? But then
I
you had to
know.
coach yourself about being okay with taking time for yourself. And again, the identity is in terms of your labor. And I want to just drill down, Dr. Ogle, that you talked about raised on what we do, not
Yes.
on who I am. And I think so many Black women struggle with that because that is how we were brought up.
Oh
We were
yeah.
brought up about, okay, what you want to be
What
when
you
you
want to
grow
do when
up?
you grow
What you
up?
want to do when you grow up? What you want to do when you grow up? What you gonna be? What you gonna be? What you gonna be? Right? And so we're always thinking about that, right? And so our worth is equated to what we want to do, what we become when we grow up. And so it's very difficult to distinguish the two. And the other part, Dr. O, too, there's some background. The other part that I think is difficult for us as Black women is because again, that is our history in this country, right? Black women have never been given the freedom to say, oh, what do you want to do during your free time? Or what makes you
Yeah.
happy? Or what gives you joy, right? So now we think about 2025 and people say, oh, what do you like to do for your free time? We're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is that? Like, that's not for us. And that's the lie that we've been told, right? So for us, I think part of our healing at this moment is to say, wait a minute, we've been fed a lie, right? We've been fed a lie that we are our jobs because that is not true. Our jobs is the means to an
Mhm.
end to make money. Okay. That is not who we are. The other part is that we've been fed a lie that we don't deserve joy. That is a lie. The other part that I heard you say too about the devastation that so many Black women are experiencing right now with all these mass layoffs. So, in addition to the fear about, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills, is who am I outside this dang job, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the impact that we're seeing with Black women whose identity becomes fused with their job title. What have we seen for Black women? How has that looked for Black women in which that identity becomes fused with the job?
Well, the one problem is because we intertwine our esteem and everything we are into our jobs. Like I left the job as an executive director
Mm-hmm.
of a it was a Rudy Poop, organization, but on the surface it looked wonderful. I was the
Uh-huh.
executive director. I was making 6 digits, and on the outside everything looked grand. To this day, some people don't know how bad I was treated.
Hmm.
And so when that's the argument, and you think it's stupid when now I'm on the other side, that I actually had to go back and forth. Do I still sit here and let these people kill me so I can
Mm.
look good, or do I get out of here? And if I have to, try it again. And that's why I finally decided, for once in my life, I decided on me. But
Oh.
that's why I'm kind of more gentle when women have a hard time, especially Black women, because we forgot one part too, the faith part.
Oh.
So the Lord loves a willing giver and all that, and you give of your all of your everything, and you're working, and you got that title, and you look good at church too.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just really hard on a Black woman. And when they leave these jobs, think about it. If we're intertwined with our identity, you're ripping flesh apart. You're
Mm.
ripping your soul apart. So I
Mm.
know the devastation is even more than maybe, our counterparts, the white women, are going through, and everybody else. We're
Mm-hmm.
taking this and I listen to it too when we do I hear about the massive layoffs. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's some conspiracy in it, but we're taking it too personally. If they don't want us, go do something else. I
Mm.
know that sounds glib, but I don't want to give anymore to anybody who don't want me. You don't want me and all that I am, deuces. I'd rather have pennies than go back to that again.
Listen, that
Mm.
sounds don't that sound good in a logical sense?
Yeah,
logic from a logical perspective, but we in an abusive
But
relationship
we're
with our
abusive
job.
and we
We're,
trauma filled.
we
Yeah.
have been in these abusive relationships with our jobs. Dr. Kamani, when you say that, the first thing I thought when you talked about the identity is because our identity is so wrapped up in our titles, and even outside the job function, right? We don't even, it does not make logical sense for us to do anything that does not further this title, right? If I say I'm a coach, then everything I do needs to be wrapped up into coaching, helping me coach more, do more, right? If that's the only aspect of my identity, and that's typically what happens when I was an academic advisor, let me read these advisor books. Let me make sure I'm improving something, some aspect of my advising. It was wild when I got laid off, because I was like, oh, it was like this aspect of free that I didn't really know what to do with.
Mm.
And for a moment, I was scrambling to go back into it. I think everybody, right?
Yeah.
Just from a sense of normality and a sense of familiarity, we try to go back into what we know, even if that thing is harmful to us, just because it's what we're used to. And so to do anything other than what we're used to is way more than what most of us have built the capacity. We just don't have the bandwidth to even consider being in the unknown. Let me go back to what I know. I know this for sure. What they say,
The devil, you know.
come on.
You don't know. That's right. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit, right? Because I want to go back to Dr. O, what you said before about walking away from a job that was killing you. I want to go through their process, and then Coach Tish, I also want to go back to the part about like the familiarity, right? But also when you talked about that we go back to jobs that abuse us, right? The parallels between jobs that are abusive to us. And let's think about that in terms of post-traumatic slave syndrome, right?
Yeah.
So post-traumatic slave syndrome, how does that connect to us as Black women and this connection to abusive jobs? Let's go there first. And then Dr. O, let's talk about jobs that kill you.
One part of the book that, and you know, I used AI, you know, to pull out this thing, and they said that we lived on a plantation lifelong.
Yes.
And and one of the big things is I was in workforce development, and I keep trying to tell people we're in a new era, we got to change our mindset. But one of the things I cannot pull my community out of thinking is you're not going to be on that doggone job for 30, 40 years, retire and die. It ain't going to happen anymore. But we still, and I think it's part of, and when I saw that and I was reading in the book, we got this thing, this lifelong mentality to massa. Baby, massa is dead. The factory, I'm from Detroit. The factory man come and use free. Right, thank you. We have got to stop acting like we take these jobs and we got to give our all and die and we're going to be there for the rest of our lives. I promise you, you won't. And if you do, then that's when it comes back. That means they're trying to half kill you physically. I mean, I'm not being figurative when I say those people are going to kill me. I'm sitting up in the doctor, still taking blood pressure medicine 6 months later that I can't get under control because those, and I remember shaking physically. And we have got to, Black women. I mean, and it was funny. I gave my daughter advice for her job. I said, girl, just do that job and ignore them and go home. That never happened, I think, in any generations in my family.
Right.
And then when I was saying, I had to look over my shoulder like, you're actually telling your daughter don't kill herself over a job no more. So, you know, and I think that's one of the biggest things. This, we feel like we're working for massa on the plantation for the rest of our lives. You're not.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's easier said than done sometimes. We say just, you know, because I think a lot of us say that, right? I know that people say that to me, just go in there, just do your job and be in and out, just get that good check and da-da-da. And I'm like, it's not that easy. Like I'm walking into a toxic landmine, right? So I can't just walk in, that toxicity is not impacting us. So we have to think about that as Black women. As we walk into these toxic environments, the toxicity is impacting us. So we can't just put our head down and just keep going on. It's going to impact us. But the part about what I'm hearing is, because of what we went through in slavery, that has been ingrained in our minds, that we have a sense of loyalty to these jobs that treat us in an abusive way, right? And that sense of loyalty that we stay at the plantation, even when the plantation is hurting us, and even when the plantation is burning down, we try to stay there with this twisted perception that the plantation is going to look out for us.
That was the system, though, wasn't it? And
Well,
that was the thing: who can pick the most cotton? Now think about it. You're enslaved, but you're worrying about who can pick the most cotton.
but here's what, when you said that, what I thought about immediately. There's a paper called "Whose Culture Has Capital," and one of the things that people of color have more than anybody else is hope. We are rich in hope, because that's how we survive.
Mm-hmm.
That we have to believe that better is coming.
We have to.
That there's going to be better on the other side of my sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we are able to survive and exist in these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in the process, we are disconnected from reality. And I think that's what you're speaking to,
Mm-hmm.
both, right? The reality is, hey, this has never changed. This is the same for my parents, for my grandparents, for my great great, right? And so it takes coming back to the present,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually being fully in your body and recognizing that, oh, I have to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing that, oh, I am reliving a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But let's also be clear, these folks in this environment, they also are living a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not imagining we're not on the plantation by ourselves. They the descendants of folks who was on the plantation too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They are creating a plantation environment.
Yeah.
That's why the policies are written the way they are.
Yep.
Because we're not imagining this.
No.
Well,
No.
to realize it, you have to ground yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take your deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come back in your body,
Mm-hmm.
so that I think about Harriet Tubman and how she would dream of where the path go, like the dream of the journey that she would take. And when she came back to, she would take the steps.
Right.
We are kind of stuck in the dreaming part. Some of us haven't even got to the dreaming part. We haven't even dreamed.
We won't even allow ourselves to dream, right?
No,
we won't allow ourselves
around too much.
Right, because we're terrified to even dream, right? So we don't even perceive that it's possible to dream. And that's the part that's heartbreaking to me. Okay? That's the part when I hear Black women say to me, yes, I'd rather stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm going to try to stick it out at this job because I'm not going to let these people run me out of this good job with the good benefits. Yes, I'm going to try to stick it out until I retire. Yes, I'm going to hang on by a string. Like, that's the part. I think that's where a lot of us are, as Black women are, right? So, Dr. O, what distinguishes you from some other Black women is you recognize this place is killing me. I got to get out of here, okay? Can you walk us through, how did you come to the realization, this place is killing me, right? Because I can imagine there was some fear there too, okay? Well, how did you walk through the fear and say, I still got to get out of here? Because a lot of Black women can recognize on some level, but the fear will stop us in our tracks.
Well, I mean, the board was literally calling me on Sunday afternoons, and I physically was shaking. And when I said, look, I got a plan, I can get us out of this situation, which I didn't create, I inherited. And they said no. And I'm shaking and I have headaches, and board meetings, I would have to talk to myself and say, it's only 2 hours. It's only 2 hours. And I've started to get the headaches. I'm not a headachy type of person. And when I start getting that pain in my eye, I was like, these people are going to kill me. I'm already, my doctor increased my blood pressure medicine twice, and you keep, and you just keep going along. And plus, I hated everything I was doing because I really didn't have an interest in the job. The job was to stack cash. So, and this is another thing. I did get a severance, but ladies, I don't have a pot of gold. I'm on faith right now, but I just had to bet on myself, and I had to say, if I have to have Dr. O as a name badge at Starbucks when I asked you what size drink you're gonna have, because I'm starting to erase what I do from my identity. I said that'll be fine. I would rather work at Starbucks and be a barista with Dr. O on my name badge than allow those women to kill me. Because there was an article, no, it was a LinkedIn post. I'm part of this group. I think I posted it in the WhatsApp chat. This woman was a executive director of an organization. She was on 3 boards, and she was young and she had passed away. And I'm like, what did she die of? She had 2 different cancers. And the woman never sat down and healed from 2 different cancers, and she's dead. And they're talking about what a wonderful life she was. And I'm like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
And I didn't want, and that was me. I don't feel like having my daughter write my obituary because everybody got me on every executive board. Because, that's another thing I did. I quit everything. I was supposed to be the president of this trade association. Said, can't do it. I was president-elect. I'm supposed to be president right now. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I quit. I was an elder at my church. I quit.
Good.
Over something else. I quit.
Good.
Once in my life, I'm going to sit here. And I had to turn down 4 board offers. Because, you hear that you'll be good at it. I'm not sitting here wondering if I'm good at it. I know that. I want to be alive. And right now, I'm house sitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just telling you, I got 3 house sits set up. I'm gonna go on 2 cruises. And I said, if I change my mind and go back to Detroit, I'm cool with that. But for once in my freaking life, I'm turning 59. I'm gonna be 60 next year. I am not gonna go out of this life with somebody talking about how wonderful she was and she dead. No, that's insane.
You're living a life that you want to live right now, right? Which is
figure it out. Yeah.
You're a beautiful model. And Dr. O, I love what you're doing. And it reminds me of it. Somebody in the chat wrote this, like Maxine Waters, you are reclaiming your time.
Yes.
Right? Nope. Right. And that's how people kind of pull us in. Oh, you'll be so good at this. You'll be so good at this. Okay. Yeah, I know that, but I don't need to do it.
And for you Bible thumpers out there, the Lord said he'll restore to you what was taken from you, but he can't restore it to you until you go sit down. So he can give it to you. He can't even figure out what you lost. Because I know Black women, and I know church Black women. We love being busy, and then we say we do it unto the Lord. The Lord said rest, so we're not doing it unto the Lord.
Right.
We got it, and it's part of that plantation mentality. We got to get rid of it.
That part, right?
We got to sit down and figure this out.
Yes. The part about rest is so important for us as Black women, and we think about giving ourselves permission to rest. I've heard Black women say, girl, I'm too busy to rest. I'm too busy. I'm like, girl, do you know that always being busy is a trauma response? Like, that's not a badge of honor. That's not something to be proud of. And honestly, because I saw Dr. O when I was in Detroit last week, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I was in Detroit, I went to the Wright African American Museum, right? So when I was at the museum, they were talking about how Sundays was the only day that as enslaved people that we had a day off, right? So that day off, sometimes we would go to market and we would sell stuff and we'd do special things. But I was like, dang, only one day, right? And so we have to think about as Black women, are we reliving what was happening during enslaved times, right? And then
do we even take a one day?
Do we rest on Sunday?
Do we even do that?
No. We go to church and work at the church.
And
we work every day.
back in the day, I would be at church at 8 in the morning because I was one of the women that set up the
First
community
service.
table. And then I'd be out by 2. I said, this was a work day. And
Yeah.
then it was the evening program. I was back at it. And then
Always
I
a-
looked up and it was Monday.
Nonstop.
Nonstop.
Yes. Yes. So we have to really recognize that. So the part that I wanted to highlight something you said,
Mhm.
Coach Tish, was one, we have to recognize how we're reliving what happened in slavery. That's the first thing. The second thing you said is we got to remember we free, right?
We are free.
Okay. So even though these things happened back in enslaved times, we are free. We have options. Dr. O, you were like, if they don't want me, I don't want you either. Okay, I don't want you either. So I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna find out what other things I can do with my talents, my gifts, my degrees, my experiences. I can find somewhere else to go. But we have to remember we are free. We are not tied to these jobs. And I'm not saying, oh my God, you lose a job. That is, yes, that's serious because you need to find ways to make money. But there's other ways to make money. It's not just that one job. What are we gonna say, Coach Tish?
So much.
That's so much.
Right, so much. The first thing that I want to say, I want to call out the name of Quita Cole, who was the Black
Yeah.
woman from
Yeah.
Nashville who was working 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, always working,
Yeah.
and went to take a 3-day break and passed away.
Yeah. Well, she's like 40, right? Or something like that. She was young.
She was
Yeah.
young.
The lady I was talking about was in her 40s too.
Ooh.
And so when we don't have a person to connect what you're hearing to, it just sounds like that's not going to happen. That's not real, right? It's really easy to convince ourselves that it can't happen to us when it is happening to us.
Yeah.
Dr. O talked about having high blood pressure. And what we often do not talk about is how heart disease is one of the number one killers of Black women, right? So increased stress, not having adequate rest, not sleeping enough, and we have high blood pressure that goes unchecked.
Gosh, it's so much.
I think about how the 2 hardest working people I know have had strokes over the past year.
Wow.
And it's like one of them here in Mexico. So it's literally like, as you were talking, this idea that we're free, I think about the people who just after Juneteenth, for example, right? 1860, 70, when they found out they were free. But it's like, what do you do with that? Right? You're free, but what do you do? There's a book called Sky Full of Elephants, that all the white people, it's fiction, it's science fiction, but it's so indicative of what we're experiencing. All the white people go out into the ocean and kill themselves. So in America, there's no more white people, but you're still left with Black people who are like stuck,
way free,
have no idea what to do. And then you have the inmates who become college professors because that's the role, right? Like they make the impossible possible for themselves. So there's always going to be some people who literally are stuck and don't know what to do. And that's okay. That's not a failure if you don't know what to do. But let's find the people who do.
Yeah.
Right? Not to deify them, but let's see what they're doing. Let's see if that works for us. After so long in these environments, we lose experimentation. We get afraid of experimenting and trying things on to see how it feels.
Yes.
Right?
It's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. That's why I keep telling people
we weren't allowed to.
That's true. Because that's the one thing that drives me crazy. It's okay if I move back to Detroit tomorrow and I said, I've done this noble experience, I don't like it. But what was more scary to me was if I never did it and I walked back into another job. That scared my butt more to come down here and house sit. There was no way that I could not go into another job and spend, and I'm going to tell you the tragedy of my life. I spent 2 years not liking a thing I was doing.
Ooh,
2 years.
2 years I sat there, and the whole time, every time they would do the gaslighting and the beating up, and I'm trying to protect my team. And I remember I sat there like, and I don't even want to be here.
Can
How
we,
sad.
Dr. O, can we talk about this? Because I hear about this a lot from Black women, a lot, particularly Black women in leadership positions. I will hear them say, I want to leave. I hate this place, but I got to stay to protect my team. I've heard that so much. Why do we do that? What's that
Because we are Black women. And I mean, it's a good thing of us. Because I do the nonprofit thing. We are community. We found out after this election that they're finding out Black women are the community leaders and the creators. That's a good thing. And we know how to put stuff together. And my team, I met with them last week. I love them. And that was a lot. I think 6 months of me staying there was because of them. Because they did get fired after I left. And I didn't even hire half of them. So it's like, why are you mad at them? Because I build a good team. I'm a damn good leader. But I was killing myself trying to stay for them for the last 6 months. And when I say I was getting my ass kicked.
Dang.
They didn't even know how bad it was until the end. They like, we didn't know what you were going through.
Dr. O, help us out, because I see Coach Tish wrote in the chat, savior syndrome, right? Tell us about savior syndrome. What was going on that you felt the need to try to save them, even though you were getting as you say, your butt was being kicked?
Because again, it's that identity thing. We're Black women. We're the gatekeepers. We're gonna hold it down. That's what we do. And it's not like we're not qualified. We totally overqualified, but we just feel, and it did come out. If I wasn't there, they're gone. But what can I do about that? If the system didn't want them, again, people don't want you. So I finally, and it was hard. I said, I went my last staff meeting. I said, and that's because I slipped. You can see I'm very vocal. And I said, I can't allow these white women to kill me. And I had white people on my staff. I said it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But that's what I was thinking. I can't allow them to leave. And that's when the Black people on my staff was like, they knew she's about to go. She's had it.
Yeah. So I think it comes from part of like how we were brought up, and also not a slave, right? That it's Black women that historically we've been there to kind of make sure everybody's okay, right?
And think about the role we played.
Yeah, right.
Well, see, Harriet Tubman. I mean, come on,
Mammy, right? And all
I think about that. Like my mother's name is Mamie. Her mother's name was Mamie. Her mother's name was Mamie.
Wow.
Right? Wow. Like I think about when we see the pictures of the Black woman breastfeeding the white children.
Yeah.
And they were the Black women, we were the ones who took care of everybody.
Yeah.
Right? We took care of everybody. So we are literally reliving these roles, even in the workplaces with our white collar jobs. And we don't even, because we're disconnected from our history or we're disconnected from ourselves. We haven't connected the dots. Right? We don't realize that you think you're making a conscious choice, and you're not. You're living a pattern that has been passed down to you for generations.
Yeah. Go on, Dr. What were you saying?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know if it was the Warren for Mother's Sons. It was one of the books, and they were talking about this is how Black women have Southern gentility, all of that, that came from Black women when they were slaves, training those little white kids how to act based upon the formal culture in West Africa. You say yes, ma'am. You say no, ma'am. Blah, blah, blah. Southern gentility came from Black mammies. Mm-hmm. And we're still sitting here at work trying to culture and treat and train these fools at work on how to be gentle, how to work, and how to work them. And we keep the whole place going together. Because I held that stupid organization together.
Wow. It reminds me of Dr. O, of this quote. I don't know who said it, but they said something about we have to be mindful of not setting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm.
Woo.
Like,
Woo!
you were sacrificing yourself to make sure everybody else was warm, but you were perishing in the process, right?
And
So
that's why we're dying.
I cannot help but to think about the connection, how deeply ingrained we are in the church, and
Mhm.
how closely we hold and desire to live like Christ, and how tightly we hold to the idea that Christ died for the church. And we hold that idea as noble,
We
mhm,
do.
right? Without necessarily recognizing how capitalism and white supremacy culture and Christianity did one of these,
mhm,
right? So it makes sense that we would be fed, right? Like we think about when they brought people here and forced them to practice Christianity,
mhm,
uh, a certain type of
Our
Christianity,
form of Christianity.
right? A certain form of Christianity,
mhm,
but the form that was most conducive to keeping these systems working, right?
mhm,
The form that made, like you were, it was not outlawed for you to practice. This, you were allowed Sundays off so that you could practice this approved
right,
form of Christianity,
right,
right? Which was indoctrination. So, which, and the reason that I left the church was because I found this the scripture that says, "Slaves, obey your masters."
mm,
And at the time, I was having this issue with my manager, and I was like, there's no way. I need to find, what do I need something that Black people created.
mm,
Well, I can say I backed away from the American form of Christianity when the whole thought is that I have to struggle to
Mm.
feel spiritual. I used to have this woman I went to church with who said we don't struggle enough, and we don't
what?
suffer enough.
Well,
And I was
Frederick
like,
Douglass said, without struggle, there's no progress.
and we love that struggle. I rang the bell on the struggle bus and got off. I
There's
can't
so
do it.
much
It's so ingrained.
of what we
Like
take
I said, I'm a
on.
bona fide church girl. I've worked with every denomination. I've worked in the church. I even studied the church from a nonprofit as an administration, particularly the
Mm.
Black church.
Mhm,
Okay.
And our concept of, in Western Christianity is warped under the
mhm,
colonial system, where and it imprints upon us that our worth is through our work.
Yeah. Because it
yeah,
makes sense. Think about it. As long as the enslaved person believes that working is worthwhile, then they will continue to do so.
mhm,
And then if you continue to work, then I will continue to get paid. You'll continue to make money for me. It makes sense as part of the system.
mhm,
If we want the system to keep working, then we have to create all of these pieces that overlap, that ensures. I think about America, right? I think about mental health, corporate mental health in particular,
mhm,
right? Because that's the space that I'm in. Corporate, you have these corporations that sells the idea of mental health to other corporations. We're
Mhm.
going to help the mental health of your employees. But why? Because we're going to make sure that they stop taking days off work.
And
We're
they're
going
more
to make sure that
productive.
they stop taking sick time. We're going to make sure that they are more productive. We're going to make sure that they make you more money. Like
mhm.
both of these things, on the surface, it's like, oh, they care about our mental health. No, they care about you coming to work every day.
Right. So they
You
can make
know,
more money off you, exploit your
They,
labor.
and if you ever
these
see that,
people, and they're not going to help you get free, right?
no.
They're not going to help you create, show you how to become a consultant, start a consulting or agency based on your knowledge or all the knowledge that you've acquired or the skills that you've built over the last decade. The person that you're working with is only there to help you keep going to work. So when
Mhm,
we think about who's helping you get free, you've got folks who are helping you stay in the status quo, maintain the status quo, keep the
mhm,
system operating the way that it's operating.
Mhm.
I just recently decided to take leave.
Mm-hmm.
right? To apply for FMLA, because it dawned on me, oh, I do have, that is an employee benefit. The
Mm-hmm.
first doctor that I spoke to told me, "Oh, you don't need time off. You just need you just need some medication and a
What?
hold on. You just need some medication and a shortened schedule." And because I work in mental health and I'm not a medication taker, thank God, I already knew, oh, I just need another, I need to talk to somebody else. Right? Because you're just going to keep me going to work, which is going to get me closer to actually being at like negative, as opposed to while I still got some left.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wait,
That's
Listen, and she
crazy.
was a Black woman.
Woo!
oh yeah, but didn't they talk
But
about
then
the
I had
Black
to
woman in
think
the
about
book
it.
though?
But I had to think about it. I said,
Mhm.
oh,
Wow.
we are in the same system. I
Wow.
can't even fault you because you are operating from the same lens. In this, we're operating in the same system.
Yeah.
The first thing she told me was, well, they're not going to approve your leave. Ma'am, who is they?
Okay.
Because you certify, you say, you're the final say. So who is the they that we're talking? But she didn't know. She didn't
And
know.
says, who's your patient? Am I your patient?
She didn't know.
Right?
Listen, she didn't know. Thank
Wow.
God I knew better. So I went and found me a nurse practitioner who
Wow.
specializes in mental health. And she said,
Wow.
how much time off you want?
And
Wow.
that's what's in this book. Here's one of my notes about the internalized racism make us police each other's advancements.
That part. That
Because
part.
why would I go to a Black person and tell them anything other than, yeah, how much time do you need? But I have sat, because I've sat in very white situations, and I would watch another Black get mad because they can't be the token.
Wow. Wow.
Because that's
I
all
have
they
seen it so
know.
many times.
That's all they
Okay.
know, Dr. O.
That's all they
That's
know.
all.
Right.
They
Now
don't know
listen,
nothing else.
we're about to talk about gatekeepers in a minute, but I want to talk about something real quick, right? So we talked about people who might help us or try to get us to maintain status quo, right? So let's talk a moment about other Black women in the workplace who might try to get us to maintain status quo. So these are the Black women who might trauma bond with you, or Black women who might, I call it struggle love,
Oh,
right? Struggle
yeah.
love in the workplace, right? So let's just talk about how horrible this job is, and let's just keep talking about that. That's the only thing we talk about is how horrible the job is. No talk about solutions, no talk about options. Let's just talk about how horrible the job is, that trauma bonding. Can we
Yeah.
talk a moment about that? Other Black women in the workplace, where that's a struggle love, that trauma bonding, and how harmful that is for us as Black women in the workplace.
Well, I had one. She was an older Black woman, one of my team members. And she's still, oh, by the way, she didn't get fired.
She did not?
Oh, no, she's a cool. I'm sorry. I just call it out like it is. And she would like to trauma bond. And then she was always the type that came to me, you better be careful because you know the white man going to get you. That's what I kept hearing every time she talked. I heard banjos. So you gotta stay. My recommendation when you sense them, go on sit down, just leave them alone.
Where was she from? Where was she from, Dr. O?
She's from Detroit.
Okay.
But she's older, and she was just trying to hold on to her job. She was terrible at her job. And like I said, she's still there. They memorized her all the time, So they actually, one girl I fired. She was another one. They brought her back because they're good Negroes.
Ah, the good Negroes. What's the good Negro? What's the
good
good Negro?
Do what they say and make them feel real good at it. They're not going to argue because they got
They're
a
not
good
threatening.
They're not ruffling no feathers.
And they probably using me as an example. That's another thing we got to get over. Forget what they talking about you. I'm in Florida. What do I care what they're talking about me or what they're saying about me? But they're probably saying, see, she was uppity and she went in, now she don't have her good job. But I have my life.
Oh, okay.
So, that's nothing. Forget what they say. You have to. Get around me. I'll tell you.
Right. So let me just say something right quick before we talk about gatekeepers, right? So what I've experienced, and I'm just curious what you all think, because it sounds like what you're saying, Dr. O, with the banjo playing and everything, with the home chick. So what I've encountered is that there's some Black people, Black women in the workplace, that they're so fearful of what these other people are going to do that they'll sit and they'll talk and they talk and talk and talk and talk about what's happening at the job, but they're so fearful of saying anything, they won't say anything at all, right? But then they'll see you as the mouthpiece and they'll kind of
Mm.
prop you
Yeah.
up. They'll
Mm.
prop you up to say something, right?
Mm.
They know that you
On
don't
their
think.
behalf to
Yeah,
protect themselves.
you say something, and guess what? They'll vanish,
Oh yeah.
right? Because they know,
So
oh,
she always opened her mouth too much. I'm telling you, start hearing those banjos. Here we go.
right. Because they're scared. Again, it's a slave mentality. It's
It's
a slave mentality. And I used to have people tell me, they used to be like, girl, you gonna get it. In fact, they would tell me, girl, you gonna get it. And I would say, are you kidding me? I'm a grown ass woman. I'm gonna get it? What are you talking about? I'm gonna
I'm
get
gonna
it.
get
Like,
what?
are you serious? Girl, you gonna get it.
That's
Like,
exactly what she used to tell me. Those white folks stick together.
girl. And I see for me, I can't tolerate that nonsense. You know what I'm
That's
saying? Like for
genetic.
me, like I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna get it, then I don't need to be here because I don't need to be nowhere where somebody gonna go and get me. You know what I'm saying?
Don't that sound genetic though? Like it sound like the fact that you can take those same words and place them
Gonna
a
get it.
100 years ago.
Yes.
You can
Yeah,
take the exact
Same conversation.
a hundred years ago.
and they
On
are
literally
scared
on the
too.
plantation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. Like we're
Yes,
not so above or so far removed, as far removed or as far above as we think we are. We are
no,
reliving these things because we haven't learned how to heal from them.
exactly. And
I,
we're so terrified, right?
yeah.
We're so stuck by the fear that again we're playing out what's happening in slavery, right?
We
So we're
just
still
replay
playing
it.
out modern day, right? Like you gonna get it? Like I
And
can't
I've heard
believe
that conversation so much in my life. You're going to get it. We're
yes,
going to get you. You feel
yes,
like the overseer is going to come out to the whip the way they say it. And then they whisper it like we're in the dark in the woods.
right, right,
And
But
we're
for
still in
them,
corporate office in
listen,
2025.
right.
for them, I'm sure the feeling is the same.
It's the same. Because we started, it's
We
in
might
there
as well
today.
be. We might as well be.
So true. So true. So this is a good segue to this, okay? So Dr. Joy DeGruy, right? And again,
Mhm.
post-traumatic slave syndrome, everybody. Okay.
Yes.
She talked about one of the components of post-traumatic slave syndrome is vacant self-esteem, right? One of the manifestations of vacant self-esteem was crabs in the barrel, okay? So crabs in the barrel. So that's when other Black people try to find something negative to kind of pull you down, okay? So let's talk about either from your personal experience or observations, what are some of the ways that you've seen crabs in the barrel play out in the workplace?
Oh, God. Trying to think.
Look, I didn't forget.
Well, I know one is
Moving from my memories. Yeah.
one, yeah, because I don't care about the job anymore. Um, well, I know one thing I've always seen is like, yeah, when you speak up, they disappear. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's that thing. And then they talk about you behind your back, and like, look what she done, and blah, 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 and all this. And she
Mm-hmm.
quit her job. And again, you got that ability to change your mind because
Mm-hmm.
it may not work out as you thought.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, look at her. She ain't even making no money. She thought she was going to run off and do that business, and she ain't making that much money, blah, blah. So
Mm-hmm.
I see that a lot, around me.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just always act like, but that's my favorite. You just different.
You just different. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. I guess I'm not being realistic. So they want to pull you down. So they can
Mm.
feel better about themselves.
You know what? It sounds like othering. You're not like us. You're not like us. You know what I'm saying? You're different.
What was I told in church once? I used to work for church. Oh, I was otherworldly.
Oh.
Is that a compliment?
Oh no, I didn't think so.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because I came
Like
up
an
with
alien?
skills and strategies that nobody understood, so I was otherworldly.
Like an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So associated with that, she also talked about an overseer mentality. Okay, I'm gonna read this. Okay, she said, where a Black person in a position of power, often a manager, acts as a gatekeeper, charged with making sure those of his or her race are kept in their places.
Woo.
Individual also deters the people in charge from hiring or promoting anyone else who is Black, thus removing any discomfort or perceived obligation on the part of the employer to hire more African Americans. So,
Mm.
have you guys experienced that? The overseer mentality, again, according to Dr. Joy DeGruy. Have you guys experienced that?
I remember a time, and I remember this lady name. I'm not gonna call her out, but her name instantly came to mind. I said, "Oh, I remember her." And I thank God for my mother. My mother raised me to be free.
Mm,
So I never felt like any rules applied to me. Like that's just how I move through the world.
mhm,
And, you know, that often made me a target,
mm,
um, or expected to carry other people. I've been expected to carry other folks. And I remember there was a young lady who was managing me. And, uh, she wasn't too keen on me being free on her team. And I know, I my trauma response is to fight. I know a
mm,
lot of people lay down. I know a lot of people run. I am a fighter through and through.
mm.
And I remember her writing me up and placing me on a performance plan.
Wow.
And as part of my performance plan, I had to take a communications class.
Ooh,
Oh,
Me.
I've had that.
I
wow.
had to take, and then she wanted to meet with me about it every week.
Ooh,
Now, I told you my response is always to fight. So every week, I had some things to say about what I was learning and how she was not, I didn't see her necessarily exhibiting what I
ooh.
was learning. And it wasn't too long. We wasn't doing those weekly meetings no more. But I got off of that performance plan and just remember, I'm like, and I remember her being, a little bit older than me. And I think that was the first time I ever had an experience where another Black woman, and I
Mm,
was like, what has happened? Like, I was just so confused. Like,
mhm,
thankfully, I had another Black woman manager who I could talk to. So I'm
mm,
like, what is happening here? Like, I am so confuzzled by
mhm,
this experience. Like, she's out to get me.
mm.
Like I'm just not used to that. I'm used to being the star player on the team. I'm gonna do what needs to be done, but I'm gonna find a quick and easy way, and I'm probably gonna skirt some policies and some rules in the process. But I'm gonna do what needs to be done. I'm gonna make sure you look good. That was the first time I had the experience with someone. It felt like, oh, you don't like me showing up for you. Now this is interesting,
Hmm.
right? And
What
at
did
the
the Black
time,
woman tell you? What advice did the other Black woman give you?
I don't know that she necessarily had any. Ironically, that other Black woman, we're still friends to this day. We'd have been to Cuba twice. She didn't, that's my old. I called her my auntie.
Okay.
So every time some stuff go down, I'm calling her. But
Mhm,
it's like I think because at the time it was 20 something,
mhm, mhm,
but because I had studied leadership at that point,
mhm,
I have an accounting degree. I was working for a for-profit school as an
mhm,
academic advisor, but I had other corporate experience. And then I
mhm.
had been, speaking on the state level with my sorority. Like I had all these leadership, like this, it just, it confuzzled me more than anything else. Like it just felt like, this is very interesting. I feel like I need to explore this. Like,
Like, what is this about?
like, where is this coming from? Like, I didn't know about coaching then, but I felt like I needed to really like ask some questions.
Mm,
But I know I understand humans a lot better now, 20 years later, right?
mhm,
And I understand sometimes, people are just reliving literally their DNA.
Yeah.
More than likely, that's the role that you're playing now, but that's probably
mhm,
the role that your ancestors played as well.
mm, mm.
And so I can't even, right? Like I think about what role my ancestors played.
True, true.
You know, when I did my, going back and asking about my mother and my mother's mother and my mother's mother, right? When I asked her, oh, okay, Granny, who I never met, oh, she carried a pistol. Oh, okay. She was, she connected with other leaders around town. Oh, okay. Right. Oh, she was a business. Like I'm not far from
Mhm.
my lineage. Like I'm not
Right.
doing that. So it's like, oh, y'all are probably doing the same things that your people have always done.
Mhm, mhm,
And similar, just like, Harriet Tubman had to shoot some folks.
Yeah.
mhm. Some unhealed people in the workplace.
What
Yeah.
we gonna
And
do?
yeah, I thank God I haven't had that with Black women, but it is, I've seen, I've dealt with, I'm the token here. I don't need another token.
Yeah. I
They're
got
What does
okay
that
with
look
you
like?
coming Black. Where I'm like, come on in. I'm going to teach y'all. I'm going to get us to the promised land. They
Yes,
don't want
let's
no
all
promised
go.
land. I got my good position here
Yeah.
amongst these folks, and I don't need you coming in here.
Yep.
Ooh.
I have seen people who just resent when another Black's there. And it's amazing to me. I've
Mm.
had that issue.
That's almost like in slavery, right? How they like pitted us against each other, right? How there would be the good so-called slave and the so-called bad slave, right? So the good slave got special favors and the bad slave
Mhm.
didn't. So the good slave would get intimidated if the other
Don't
slave
mess
did
up
what
my
they.
good thing.
Well,
Wow.
let's identify who the good, right? The
Let's do
good.
that. Let's do that.
So, right, because we're talking
And
about
his alignment to whom? Because good was alignment.
right? But it was also how much work was the good slave doing? That was the one who was doing the most. The one who you had the proximity, right?
Mhm,
But you were also doing the most. You were giving and doing and like serving and doing all of you were doing more, the
mhm,
running around, the sharing what I heard, and right, like you're doing more work
mhm,
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, right? Like
mhm.
you're doing more work than
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're getting rewarded for it.
But you still ain't getting paid, you're getting rewarded.
Right, right. And the thing about it is that if you feel so threatened to see another Black person,
Mm.
that that's a whole nother situation, right? It's just that I think that sometimes when we respond in certain ways that you become so adamant, like I don't want to acknowledge you as another Black person. That is so problematic. And you feel that your proximity, like you're the accepted one, like they're not going to turn on you on some level, but they're going to turn on you.
And I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
They're going to do that, but you're just
Yes.
deluded in thinking that you have some special power, some special privilege, but you're not. That's just a lie. That's a lie you're telling yourself. Okay. So Dr. Joy DeGruy also talks about, and she makes reference to Dr. E.B. Du Bois about double consciousness. And she talks about as Black people, how we see ourselves, not only how we see ourselves, but
Mm.
through the eyes of how other people see us too,
All
right?
day long. Mhm.
Woo! So can we talk about what is it like for us as Black women, this double consciousness in the workplace? What is that like for us? That we see ourselves, but then we also see ourselves through how other people see us as well.
It's exhausting. And that was one of the things I got tired of. And it's so double conscious that you're not even, I think that's when like I said, when they start figuring out, Orletta's about to walk out the door, because I told my boy, I'm not going to let you use my Black pretty face to be demise of this organization, because you
Mhm.
don't supposed to talk about it because it's supposed to be this craziness that you live with. And I said, I'm sick of being crazy. You're doing this to me because I'm Black. You don't want Black leadership. And I was fine with that. And that's why I said,
You
I'm not
called
going
it
to.
out.
Yeah. And if you don't call it out, you're going to be crazy and going to be sick. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, free yourselves. I'm a Black woman. I had 35 years of experience. You know, they replaced me with a woman with no nonprofit experience.
Because she don't ask no questions. She ain't challenging them.
No.
She do what she told.
Right. And so this double consciousness, I'm supposed to sit at home dying inside because I know everything's happening to me simply because I'm a Black woman. Because God I know I didn't do anything egregiously wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I think because I see in the comments, people's like, how do we get our identity?
Yeah.
Stop hiding your identity. You know you're a Black woman. When something's happening, just tell yourself, this is why it's happening. And you got to feel okay with it. This is happening because I'm Black.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make excuses.
Right. Be
I'm
clear
gonna
about
take
what's
it.
happening. Yeah.
I'm gonna take it one step further, right?
Mhm.
Because we often carry the responsibility of
Yeah.
reminding ourselves of our own humanity, right? We already have to exist in these environments, and then we have to coach ourselves, which don't get me wrong, right? Like I wrote the book Coach Your Damn Self. Not a problem about coaching yourself,
Mhm.
but that's not the end, right? Coaching yourself and reminding yourself can only come as the result of being a part of a community that can also reflect back to you
Mm-hmm.
these same ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get in community.
True.
Yes.
You got to get around other folk who are seeing things in this way. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you the only one, it's really easy for your mind to start playing tricks on you and telling you, no, it's not that. No,
Mm-hmm.
you just imagining. Because everything around you is going to gaslight you into believing you that this is normal and this is okay because everyone's experiencing it. You've got to get on the side of people who are like who recognize this and see it for what it is. It
Mm-hmm.
is dangerous to continue participating in spiritual warfare in this way every single day
Mhm.
and assume that somehow on the other side of it, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's not what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I think that's it's a really good segue to our as we start winding down about healing, right? So
Mhm.
paying attention to community is so important. So we think about, generational transmission of healing that our ancestors have told us and shown us is community is so important. Spirituality is so important. Another thing that's been so valuable for us is intuition. Okay. So
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Taylor talks about intuition. Okay. So how can we, because as Black people, we have like, I don't know, some didn't seem right about her, right? I got bad vibes about her. I got bad vibes about that situation. How can we as Black women use our intuition in the workplace to help us heal, right? No, not heal, because we're in a toxic job. It's hard to heal when you get harmed,
You got
right?
to heal every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we use our intuition when we're in these toxic work environments? How can we use our intuition to help us?
We have to flip how we look at our intuition, because for years, when my mind would say, or that voice would say ABC, I would say no and go blah, blah, blah. When I start finally flipping it and making the situation disprove what I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then I start trusting my intuition more because I start figuring out I know what I'm talking about. So I
Mm-hmm.
stopped when that voice says, that don't trust that person. I made that person, they didn't know it, prove to me that they shouldn't be trusted. So you're gonna have to disprove what my intuition says, and
Okay.
it's hard. And you got to do it one piece at a time. But you
Mm-hmm.
get to the point. The reason I quit my job because my voice said, "What are you doing?" And we had that conversation before.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I didn't trust my voice, I would have been, nah, you know, the team and blah, blah, blah. Girl, I wrote that letter that night. When that voice said, "What are you doing?" And I had to turn around. But it was because I have practiced and practiced making the situation prove my intuition wrong instead of me doing it the other way around. You prove it to me that what I'm thinking is wrong.
So listening and honoring your intuition.
Right.
Okay. What about you, Coach Shish? What would you
Your
say?
intuition is your connection to an understanding that is not based on logic and what you see,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your intuition is, so we live in a society that tells us you need to have research, you need to have evidence, it needs to be scientific, right? Like it needs to be evidence based.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because we have received so much training in that direction, we don't actually trust because we're well trained, right?
Mm-hmm.
Master's degrees and doctoral degrees. We've been trained for
Mm-hmm.
years. We've received thousands of hours of training
Mm-hmm.
to not trust our gut.
Right.
So we actually have to begin to understand what our gut is.
Mm-hmm.
Your gut is tied to your vagus nerve, which is tied to the part of your brain that is connected to emotions and memory and your subconscious. So things that that you don't may not be consciously aware of, but that your brain and all your other senses, so what you hear, what you feel, all of your other, what you smell, all of your other senses are picking up on information. So what your intuition is, it actually is scientific, but we've only been trained to focus on what we see and what makes logical sense, but where our logic has been hijacked. So what we actually have to do is begin to do things that help us to reconnect to our bodies. And so the types of things that help us to connect to our bodies. There's a young lady in the chat that says, I feel triggered. I said, stand up, shake, take a deep breath,
Yeah.
right? We have to do things that help us to literally get in your body.
True.
We've been surviving by not being in our body.
Get
True.
to know yourself.
So when
Yes.
Dr. O said, I refuse to let them kill me, we
Mhm.
have to get a hell no spirit
Mhm.
about being I may have to be in this space so that I can pay my rent, but I'm not about to sit here for 8 hours straight. I'm not about to sit here for 3 hours straight. I'm not about to sit here. I'm going to stand up every hour. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to shake something to come back into my body so that I can, because that's what's happening. We're disconnected from our bodies.
So
So
true.
we got to come back to our bodies.
Yes.
Taking deep breaths, drink something warm, not coffee. I ain't talking about the coffee break. Drink something, put some herbs, some ginger, some cinnamon, some turmeric, some honey in a mug, and take some deep breaths while you're drinking that. Right? Like, here's what I know about healing. As long as we are in survival mode, anything that causes us to care for ourselves seems optional.
Yes.
Right? It seems like a luxury. Because I only need to survive and I've been surviving, so I don't need to do anything extra. Get clear on what your calling is on your life. And then you're going to need to do something extra. It's going to be required for you to do something extra because the calling on your life, your destiny is different from surviving. We've been surviving, and simply continuing to survive is not going to encourage or invite you or inspire you to do anything extra that allows you to do more than surviving. Why are you here? Why have you been in these environments for this long? What purpose will that serve in the greater book of your life? What purpose will this chapter serve in the grand story? So once you can begin to dream beyond, and in order to dream, you gotta get in your body, right? You gotta fit in order to make the dream reality. That dream is going to call you. It's going to pull you out of simply doing what it takes to survive. So
Yes. And yeah, go on,
I
Dr.
was say because I'm writing a book,
Mm.
and I was supposed to have this book written 2 years ago. Until I sat my butt down there was no way that book was going to do it because I gave everything over to that job.
Yeah.
The things that you've been called to do, and you know it because it's in your mind right now. As soon as I said it, you're thinking about that thing you're supposed to have been doing. You won't get it done until you get into your body and figure out who you are.
Yeah. That's an example of like how your job can be all consuming. It steals everything from you, like all your life energy, all your dreams, all your creativity. Like you have nothing left over, right? The other part that I was thinking about is, as you all were talking, is my hope is that for us as Black people, right? I know we are in some crazy times right now.
Yes.
And I know that many of us are in survival mode. My hope is that we get out of this by connecting to our history.
Yeah.
And that we do things intentionally to be well, okay?
Yes.
And that we heal and that we come out of this and we experience post-traumatic growth, okay? That terrible things have happened to us, they will continue to happen to us, but that we will learn some things from this. We will remember that we are free, that we have options, and that we are in charge of our own wellness. These people will continue to do things to try to pull us down and all that kind of stuff, but we have agency. And I want us to remember that, okay? So we can do things that our ancestors were not able to do. And I want us to keep that in mind. And I want us to be an honor to them, right? And to be intentional about what we're doing each day. Like you said, Coach Tish, what are we doing each day to connect to our well-being, right? If we're feeling triggered, if we feel like, wait a minute, there's something going on, what are we doing to take care of ourselves each day, okay? The other thing is we have to be mindful of being connected to ourselves, right? Because when we're disconnected from ourselves, that's when all these poison, all the other kind of stuff, these other people are taking over, and we're trying to seek that external validation from other people, right? So you get that job position, that job title, because you're trying to always seek something outside of yourself. That's when you don't really know who you are. Dr. O talked about this, right? Knowing who you are. Who are you? What fills you up with joy? Coach Tish, when we came on, she was talking about she was swimming earlier today.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't swimming. I was at a sound healing float. So we were floating.
That's even better. Okay.
Yeah.
So what fills you up with joy? We have to remember that. Okay. So it's for winding down, ladies. So when I think about like this current political climate, when I think about the disproportionate numbers of Black women who are losing jobs, which is heartbreaking to me, I feel like every time I hear about that, I feel like for me, that's some type of vicarious traumatization that I'm experiencing, because that hurts me deeply to hear that, right? So even before all of that, I've heard Black women talk about they can't stay in their jobs, right? The job is harming them. They've equated their job to a plantation. And I've also heard, but I can't lead a plantation. I can't lead a plantation. This job's a plantation, but I can't lead a plantation, right? What words of wisdom can you offer to Black women who might be at a job whom they themselves, they call the job a plantation, and they themselves say they cannot leave the plantation? What words of wisdom can you offer to them?
Stop being a slave. If you're on a plantation, it means you're a slave. Why would you want to be a slave? Why would your ancestors still want you to be a slave? So you got to get free. And one of the ways you can get free is get rid of all those definitions that the colonizer gave us. I question everything, every approach, every mindset. I've learned to start questioning it. Like Coach Tish says, getting to know you and your body. It's not normal for you to have headaches at work.
Right.
And so I had to shift that, but I had to think about it first. So I'm like, get free. And somebody was saying, how do they build community? We live in the 21st century. We're a community right here. These are my girls. Dr. Kamani and I only met each other physically last week.
Right.
There's another girl, Angeline. I've known her for 10 years. We met once before last week. Community can be online.
Yes.
Get get you some like-minded people and get healed and get off the plantation. And this is what I told my team member, because like I said, they got fired. I said, can you think of a better time to be jacked up and get fixed? Everybody's messed up right now. So this is the perfect time in our lives. We all broke. We're all trying to figure out what's next. We don't know what that fool's going to do. So what a better time to figure this mess out. Why
Together.
everything's a mess. Yeah.
Received. Received. What would you say, Coach Tish?
Our enslaved ancestors, even while they were enslaved, would sneak and learn how to read.
Mm.
They would sneak and figure out how to get off. They would sneak. So, okay, you got to be there now. How are you preparing? How are you getting your nervous system accustomed to the idea of freedom? Because you're not going to be. I look at all these women. I think about how every time I've been laid off, and it's been multiple times, my life has improved because prior to the layoff, I was preparing for my next level. And so the layoff was permission. It was like my hall pass to go to the next level. Many of us are surprised and shocked by a layoff because we weren't preparing for our next. We were only talking. So if you're going to talk about being on a plantation, let's study plantation life. Let's get grounded in what that actually looked like. What are the similarities? And those who did steal their freedom, we have so many resources at our disposal that can help us to get free. But I don't know that we actually use them to get free.
Yeah.
I don't want, if that's the language that you're using, then let's use that language. This is usually when my clients get uncomfortable. Cool, you on the plantation. What were the folks who was on the plantation before you doing in order to get off? Do you want to be like the people who were staying on the plantation or the folks who escaped? So let's study those who we want, right? It's like our people laid the groundwork for we can literally study what they did and we can research that. But again, most of us don't have the capacity to do so. And so what we actually have to do is focus on building the capacity. We actually have to begin using our hope for a better future as a way to make that mug of something warm and nourishing after the workday. Maybe maybe that's all you got. But let's use what you got to get what you need or get what you want. Let's use what you have currently. So I think that's what I would say. Let's start with where you are, but you got to be honest about where you at.
Yeah. So learn from our history. Understand the power of language, right? So if you say you're in a plantation, what does that mean to you? And let's learn from what does that mean? Do you want to stay stuck or do you want to get free? Because if you want to get free, there's ways to get free. The other things about it is we have seen those examples of getting free. There's steps, there's planning that's involved in that too. And that we all can make plans to get free. Okay. It doesn't mean like, oh my God, you're always going to be in that state. No, it does not mean that. Okay. Now, I do want to just end off with talking about what Dr. Joy talked about, some healing tips. And I want to read the community chat as well. Okay. So Dr. Joy, again, post-traumatic slave syndrome. If you have not read this book, please get it. Dr. Joy DeGruy. Okay. So her healing tips. So first she said, know what is in need of healing. Knowledge of your history is key to establishing good mental, emotional, and physical health. Building self-esteem with a healing question for self-esteem. Are you destroying or creating? Okay. So as you're interacting with other Black people or other people, think about, are you uplifting people? Or are you stepping on people? Okay. So be mindful of how you interact with other people. Taking control of your inner world, racial socializing ourselves and families, thinking about our spirituality, our faith, our community leaders. Okay. So, in addition to what Dr. Joy stated about healing tips, do you two have any additional healing tips for Black women in the workplace as we're winding down?
Yes, be still. Be Still has changed my life. I don't have to be busy. The most creative and best stuff that's happened, because the book I just wrote was because I got tired of as people ask me questions about nonprofits, and something said write a book, and I put it in a book. Be still.
Be still. Be still. And take the time to ask, who am I? Okay.
And
What
then
about
let the answer come to you. Stop trying to. We got to stop working stuff out. Sit down.
you? Sit down. Yes. What about you, Coach Ish?
I'm gonna go back to that I call it a warm hug in a mug.
Okay.
Turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, honey, coconut oil, coconut milk, black pepper,
Mm-hmm.
and hot water. Our nervous systems are inflamed. We are stressed out, and
Mm,
everything inside of us is screaming.
mm,
Simply breathing is not going to be enough. And that coffee and that caffeine, I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying let's add to it.
mm,
Let's add having something that nourishes us emotionally and spiritually and physiologically to our
mm.
day. Dr. O said, be still. I said, be still with that mug, right? Take a swallow and feel the warmth swirling around in your mouth. Concentrate on that feeling. Feel
Mhm.
the herbs and taste the goodness going down your throat. Breathe in the scent. Like we have to get grounded. I don't know
Mhm.
any other way to
Yeah.
do any of the things that we're saying without being grounded. And sometimes we you can mindfully have a warm drink.
Mm.
You can mindfully contemplate, and sometimes it becomes easier because you're not fighting your mind, you're giving your mind something to concentrate on.
Mhm. Mhm.
So all of them herbs I just mentioned, turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, are anti-inflammatory. So it
Mm.
actually is healing you literally from the inside out, and it gives you access to the dreams, access to being fully present.
Mm.
Sometimes we need herbal support that ain't involved smoking it.
Right.
Good
Well,
point.
you say that about, because I drink coffee. One of the rules I made for myself, I
Mm.
Mm.
no longer have a to go cup for coffee.
Hmm.
I have my coffee in the morning. I sit down
Hmm.
like a human being and drink my coffee. I got rid of
I
all
love
those
that.
disposable to go
I
cups.
love that.
You can't even enjoy your cup of coffee. What are you gonna have? Why am I drinking this? I got a mug. I sit down and drink my
I
coffee.
love that.
Be
I love that.
intentional. Be intentional. Yes, yes, yes. And I
Sit down.
yes, sit down. Sit down, okay? And I want to add to all that too. It's community is so important because
Mhm.
we as a people, we are
Yes.
relational people. We
Yes,
heal
we
in
are.
community. So we have to remember that. So again, this is my community too. So
Mhm.
I come on here every week. I share information, but I heal from you too. So when I'm reading the chat and I'm looking at your comments throughout the week, I'm healing from you too. I'm a Black woman who is healing from a toxic job. So I'm healing in process. Okay. So I'm healing as I'm sharing with you, you're sharing with me, we're healing. So community is a big part of our healing. So I also want to share with you that I do have a healing community, which is the Butterfly YouTube community for Black women. So join this community. Okay. So in addition to watching my YouTube videos, you could be a part of this community. We had a conversation this last week with a board certified OBGYN Black woman talking about perimenopause and menopause. And this week, we're going to talk about AI and how we can use that to help us find jobs. So, this is a community so that we have monthly check ins, sisterhood check ins. So, be a part of a community. We are here to support one another because I know a lot of times we like, ooh, this life is hard. It is, okay? But I want us to have hope. We talked about this. There's a lot of stuff going on, but we as a people, we cannot let these situations rob us of our dreams and our joy and our health. Okay. So I'm
Mhm.
going to read the community chat and we're going to start winding down. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see, yes, it's going to be a great conversation. It absolutely was. I was nervous about this conversation, honestly. Because I was like, okay, first, I got to reread this book, okay, which I had read before, but I got to reread this book. I got to come up with some notes and I got to tie it into Black women in the workplace. So I was like, woo, but it turned out very well. So I'm very happy about that. This will be deep. Yes, it was. Yes, so true. So hard work for minimum pay. My supervisor tried to persuade me to keep working with an abusive, suicidal client who really needed a higher level of care this past Thursday. I stood up for myself. Good. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Coach Chitz preach. Wow, well said. We are literally just surviving all of these environments, not thriving, not resting, not fulfilled. I said no without saying directly, and she couldn't disagree and was shocked how articulate, knowledgeable, and tactful I was at dealing with her. Yeah, you have to be mindful that when you're in the workplace, that you are working um, in your area of competence, right? So if you recognize that a client or somebody needs a high level of care, you need to advocate for that because if you're licensed, that's your license at stake. So just be mindful of that, okay? I hate that question. What do you do? We must claim our time. The quote from Maxine Waters. Yes, them folks don't follow their own policies and had the nerve to ask me why I'm so rigid with boundaries and following policies. I don't have the luxury not to. Yes, because guess what? When something comes down on you, they're gonna be like, "Oh, we don't know, girl." Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Trying to justify why we shouldn't care for ourselves. Yes, that's the other colloquial statement. What you gonna be? Yes. Hey Marissa. Hey Black Boomers for besties. We're in an abusive relationship with our jobs. Wow. Yes. How do we escape the identity loop? We talked about that. I'm in this place right now, especially being new in the graduate school place. Excellent discussion. Thank you. It's late, Joe Madison used to say, what are we going to do about it? Which we just talked about. It's so sad the trade-offs we make. What up, Doe? I'm from Detroit too.
Yeah.
It's Sunday evening, and I just came from Detroit. I love it. Detroit. I'm from Chicago. I'd never been to Detroit before, so it was great to
Let's
be
go.
in Detroit. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Hey, Angeline. Thank you for your transparency, Dr. O. Much respect. I thank God for this conversation right here. This will get me through my week. Good. See,
Mhm.
the importance of community. Sometimes you need to be around other Black women who have similar experiences and you feel seen and heard like, oh my God, they get it. Okay. We talked about the savior complex, right? If not us, then who in terms of looking out for each other? Wow. Facts. Amen. Dr. Kamani. Yes. Coach Tish, break it down. Exactly what Black people created. We are trained to think our work is our worth. Yes. We're rejecting that lie. We're rejecting that. Okay. Fake news. Yes, that sense of false sense of mental health, so shady, and then deny accommodations and leave or workers' compensation. That's how slaves were valued on the auction block, their work potential. Yes, absolutely ingrained in us. To me, it's not about struggle or not, it's about how and for whom. Yes, Coach Tish, some doctors are not compassionate and stigmatize leave, and doctors have, that's so true. And doctors have high suicide rates and burnout. Yes, I interviewed a Black woman medical doctor. She talked about that. Gatekeepers are the worst, not banjos, lol. Amen. Fiddler, lol. How do we get to heal? We talked about that. Caucasian women whisper too, but they run back and tell the employer,
Man.
watch yourself in the workplace. Watch yourself, okay? Yes, everybody give this video a thumbs up and share this episode. Thank you, sis. Yes, it's valuable for us all. Blocking, it's hiring, it's giving access to perks, it's isolation. I will never be a manager again. In Florida, as a cancer center manager, they not even used to seeing Black people working in Florida. I said, bump that career ladder. They about killed me. All Black folk don't want to be free. True. All skin folk and kinfolk. I worked as a manager for years in social service before deciding to follow my passion. Unfortunately, it was the worst decision working under a Black woman who brushed me off numerous times. I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And sis, yeah. So sis, I'm hoping that you were able to engage some deep breathing, do what you need to do to take care of yourself with this conversation. Yes, Coach Tish, it's my intention to join communities that reflect my experiences and validate the healing I need. Yes. Okay. You talk about take a deep breath, stand up, shake your arms. I listen to my intuition and trust it no matter who tries to gaslight me. How do I find community? Black women living in Texas who are estranged from family. So sis, again, I invite you to join the butterfly community so you can connect to other Black women. Okay. It's hard to find community, then move so differently. Good point, Dr. O. You need accurate facts with evidence to change my mind first. I do follow intuition. It's hard to find like minded people. Corporate almost killed me. Come on, somatic healing. So much good information. Thank you. Intuition is too sacred to give away to the enemy. Go, Coach Tish. Why am I here? Dream, but mostly air. Getting into my body is something I must always be mindful of. I'm very analytical and must constantly find ways to stay in my body. Post traumatic growth. Wow. Yes. Yes. Amen. As a Black woman, we're always analyzing our environments to obtain some type of safety. So many of us gifted and exhausted from capitalism in the workplace. Healers are having to survive the plantation until they can't get free. Yes, the high numbers of Black women losing jobs is higher than any other demographics. The proof is in the pudding. We have to live below our means so that we have the financial resources to pivot. Whatever employer resources and benefits you have access to, use it and prioritize yourself. Whatever form of respite you can, take it. Thank you, Dr. O. I'm on a mission to find community. 20 years, Dr. O, 2005. The layoffs for me helped me heal and grow. Wow. Okay. Have hope for ourselves is key. 100%. Sunday evenings are so healing for me. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, Dr. Kamani. This was such a thought-provoking conversation. As always, Dr. Kamani, guests, grateful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing stories, Coach Tish and Dr. O. Absolutely. Our nervous systems are inflamed. Go, Coach Tish. I truly appreciate all the ladies giving so much wisdom and care today. Lots of love shared during this live. Lots of love. Finding tiny moments to sit down and be still. Get something warm to drink. Coach Tish, an architect of community. Oh, thank you, sis. This is my community. I'm healing. I always love to chat. How do you join the butterfly community? It's going across the screen right now. It's also in the description section of this video on YouTube. Okay. The caffeine in coffee is destroying your nervous system. It's just as dangerous as stress, wreaking havoc in your nervous system. Wow. Yes. I missed the menopause session. How do you listen? So once you become a member, you go to the post for members and you can access the replay. And I see somebody just became a member. So excellent. That fast action. I love it. I don't believe in stealing Black women's joy. Let them have their coffee now. Just a little tool, please. Okay. Will you have a meetup near DC, Maryland, or Northern Virginia? So generally I have a meetup when I travel to do trainings. I'm a national trainer for trauma. So if I am in that area, I will let you know. But at this point, I don't have any trauma training scheduled at this point in that area. But if so, I will let you guys know. Okay. Caffeine is a health issue, period. Facts. Yes. Okay. Yes, ladies. We did it. Okay. We did it. We talked about post-traumatic slave syndrome and we got through it, ladies. We got through it. It was some heavy content, but we did it. We nailed it. I think it was a very healing conversation. And I think it was important for us as Black people to connect to our history in a way that it's very painful. I think that we need to have open conversations about slavery, not in the sense like, oh, it's a terrible thing, but really like, how is this stuff still impacting us today? And really be up close and personal about it and really address it head on. But then how do we move in such a way that we take more ownership over our lives right now, right? So that's what I love so much about this conversation today. So Dr. O, Coach Tish, please share with people, what does your life look like right now? Any offerings you have right now? And for real, we're going to wind down. So Dr. O, where are you? What's going on with your life right now? Any offerings you have right now?
Well, I moved my life, so I'm a nomad, but I run my own business, Beyond Existing Enterprises. And I help particularly Black people with their nonprofits. So if you go to beyondexisting.com, I've written a book It's called You Got Your 501c3, Now What? So people get their 501c3s and they don't know what to do next, especially Black folks. We got to get that together. And then I also have a course with the same title. But if you go to Beyond Existing Enterprises, you get all the information. And if you have any questions or you're trying to help out your community, not kill yourself, but help out your community, give me a call.
I love it. Okay, thank you, Dr. O. Coach Tish.
Yeah, so I'm in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Uh, I'm sneaking and living here, but it is what it is. I'm a descendant of those who used to sneak off the plantation, and sometimes they got caught, and sometimes they didn't. But they was committed to helping other folks get free. So that's where I'm at. I feel like I'm in a constant state of increasing my ability to hold two difficult things at once. Shout out to the new member. I just saw that pop up. Come on now,
Yes,
come on now.
remember today. Yes, I love
Yes.
it.
So I am actually doing a free workshop next month. I just did one yesterday called Take Back Your Energy. So if you want more details about that, you can follow me on Instagram at Coach Tish.
Okay.
And so yeah, my mission, it feels like, is really to help us increase our capacity to heal. I mean, it's easy for us to say that we need healing. But what I recognized when I was trying to figure out who I was, I had to start doing all the things that I had been told were wrong.
Yes.
Everything that I was told was witchcraft. I was like, well, let me look at this numerology. Let me look at this astrology. Let me look at it. Right? And so I found myself. I figured out like really who I am as it relates to being in this universe and being on this rock that's floating in space, and began to connect that with what I feel like is the work that I'm sent here to do, and the healing that I'm supposed to live, and the life that I'm supposed to enjoy, and be an example of what it looks like to do both and, as opposed to either or. It's like, no, we're going to do both. Right? We might be working in these environments, but yeah, we're going to make sure we got enough energy to go to play rehearsal and go float and get massages. And, so that's what I'm just out here living and healing like everybody else.
Yes, and they're asking, what are your social media handles? They're asking for both you guys.
Yeah, I'm putting it in.
On IG.
Okay. So I just want to say to both of you, this just came in my spirit to say to both of you that I'm so proud of both of you for really healing, like healing and showing examples to Black women of this is what healing looks like. This is what it looks like. Like I'm figuring it out, but this is what healing looks like. And you can do it too.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't have to wait till you're like retired.
You
can heal every day. This is what it looks like. So I love it
every day.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So everyone, please follow Dr. O. Please follow Coach Tish. You guys put it in the chat.
Mine didn't work, but it
says this comment has failed to post.
Yeah, it says failed to post. But
Okay.
Beyond Existing. Yeah.
It's Beyond Existing.
.com.
Okay, Beyond Existing. And then Coach Tish, what's yours?
At Coach Tish on IG.
Yeah, I just followed her. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll put the information in the YouTube description section to everybody. Okay.
Yes,
okay. So everybody, thank you so much again, Dr. O, Coach Tish. Thank you so much for being my guest. And everyone, again, and welcome new members to the Butterfly YouTube community. So I will see everyone later. Coach Tish and Dr. O, if you can stay on, please. Everyone, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.